It says someone said this generation is hypersexual because the last generation molested us. Now, there's a whole lot to unpack here. Okay. And at some point during this conversation, not right now, maybe not ever, but knowing me, I am going to. At some point during this conversation, I'm going to call cap on this and explain the other reasons and the actual real reason why people are hypersexual. But before we do that, we're going to deal with the reality of this. And there's a lot of layers to this, okay? I don't know where to start, but I know where I want to start. I want to start with the culture that we've created behind protecting the people who do this. And I started to think about it. I got this recently. Molestation is a power crime. It's almost like, okay, like rape. When you think about rape, right? It's usually, that's an entitlement crime. You rarely, the rapes ain't that somebody walking at night and some guy who don't know you beats you up and takes it. That happens, but that's rarely how it happens. It's usually someone who feels entitled to the coochie, and the fact that you don't give it to them, and they take it. It's like, that's why Trey Songz has so many unsolved cases. He's Trey fucking Songz, right? So to him, you're supposed to give it to him. So when you don't, it's, bitch, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how rape is. But when I think about molestation, it's usually somebody from an untouchable space, like the breadwinner father of a house, or the pastor of a church, or Michael Jackson. Never mind, because y'all don't even want to deal with that. But I'm glad I said that. I'm glad I said that, because that's what I'm saying. It'd be people like that who you'll make a reason for, an excuse to say they didn't do it. That's why Eddie Long and all these pastors and all these R. Kellys and people of that were the people who was doing this stuff. And they're always in a position where you either don't want to believe it or can't afford to believe it. That's why I bring up the breadwinner father first. Because if he's the one doing this to the kids and don't nobody got no money, where you gonna go? So we created a culture of people who were allowed to do this shit. And we didn't call it out. And we had people, what they call it, silent generation, of people who, like I said, just allowed, not necessarily allowed it, but couldn't do anything about it. You understand? Then there's the level and layer of people who, and unfortunately, R. Kelly kind of falls in line with this one a little bit. There's the layer of people who, on one end, we're making conscious decisions, but we're calling it molestation because we don't have a better word for it. Like the 16-year-old and 15-year-old girls who date the older men. Now, we can call the older men whatever name we want to call them, but at the end of the day, these girls were making these conscious decisions to do it. Like these women with R. Kelly. A lot of them were doing this because he was R. Kelly, not because he was doing any type of... I'm not saying he wasn't. We're not letting anybody off the hook. We're just addressing everything. So a lot of them do that based off because they want to. And we'll call the men creeps because they are. We're not saying they're not. But at the end of the day, we know the 15 and 16-year-old girls who was getting picked up by 20-year-old dudes at high school and getting rides and having sex and had boyfriends at 15 that was 19. We know these people, right? And we can call the guy whatever, but at the end of the day, it's women who make conscious decisions. I just seen another thing. I was on IG, and it was a girl. Her mom pulled up on her. She was on the strip at 13 years old. And her mom pulled up, told me, oh, you ain't doing this today. She's like, get in the car. Leave me alone. I'm doing what I want to do. She's out there at 13 on the strip. Now, a guy, first of all, a guy might not even necessarily know, but if he did know, he's a creep for dealing with her. But at the same time, she's out there on the strip. You know what I'm saying? Now, that brings us to the cause and effect. I did a video before. They were 8 years old. And the little boy got caught. I can't even remember the story. Now, I can't remember if she tried to give him some head or said she wanted to give him some head or was giving him some head. 8 years old. 8-year-old, right? So my thing is this, and I did the video about the little boy, the 9-year-old rapper. What was the first lyric in his song that I would have whooped him? I'd have pulled out a belt in the studio. I don't even believe in whooping kids. I'd have whooped him. If she ain't sucking dick, she could get the fuck up on my shit. A 9-year-old said this. Why? So when you introduce kids to sex at an early, this is how it happens. When you introduce kids to sex at an early age, it's become normal for them. Even if it shouldn't be. See, some people, some kids, I'll even go as far as to say a lot of kids. A lot of kids have these, not these types because it's molestation, but a lot of kids have sexual exploration with each other. Like it'd be like 2 10-year-olds playing house and shit like that, right? And so there's that. But when you're older, when it's the older people, and this is men and women, you know what I'm saying? So when it be the older kids, now it's become normal to you. You think that's something that you're supposed to do, or it's okay to do. We've heard this story all the time. You know what I'm saying? And then, so you get to a space where they're not even operating out of fear. They're operating out of normalcy. Just like I talked about before with Ish, when they were talking about old girl on the Joe Budden show with the lady, what the fuck? Oh, the teacher. She got fired, teacher OF. And he was like, well, kids not supposed to know about this stuff at 9. They shouldn't even know what OF is. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would a 9-year-old even, you being a stripper, shouldn't even connect with a 9-year-old? It should be no connection. But the parents make the connection. So when the parents see their kid with a teacher that's a stripper, it's a connection there. That's why I just did a video about the guy who got fired. Or not fired. Did he get fired? I don't know. He had to apologize. He had to apologize because the 13-year-old kids didn't know shapes. Now that kid, the guy, the teacher was clearly gay. I never mentioned it in my video because it wasn't relevant. It wasn't even a relevant fact. You know what I'm saying? So like, because he was clearly gay. Like clearly, no questions asked. He was gay. But it was not relevant to the topic. So I didn't bring it up. But if I would have, that would have been my adult mind doing that. When really, these 13-year-olds supposed to know shapes has nothing to do with his sexuality. You get what I'm saying? So, as adults, we normalize a lot of things in front of kids. Even rap music and all this different shit. Like a 9-year-old should have never been able to say, if she ain't sucking dick, she get fucked up on my shit. I hope. And I'm willing to go on record. I mean, at least I hope. He ain't never got no head before, but he's heard that said. You know what I'm saying? So it's the normalization of it on how this became a thing. But, and like I said, for a whole generation, like I said, we're going to end up calling cap sooner or later. But for a whole generation to feel that way, it's because a whole generation turned their back on people doing it. And I already explained why. So this is actually a sad reality. You know what I'm saying? This is a sad reality that a lot of people deal with this. And then as kids, they don't get out of it. Like even, okay, let me give you another example. There's a lot of kids who were raised, how do I say this? Hood. It's like kids who were raised ghetto and hood, right? And they never get out of that mentality. You know, so it's sad. And then we have people who will look you right in your face and say kids aren't manipulated by the things they see. Well, what about when they see private parts? You know, so this is a thing, you know. But it's also not a thing. Wanna know why? Because there's a lot of people who don't fall in line with this. There's a lot of people who are hypersexual because society has made it monetizable to be so. There's a lot of people, and I've said it in different videos, I've said it on different posts. Being single has become prostitution. And the economy is pushing you to start an OF. So there's a lot of, how do I say it? Women found a way to, what do they say? They say it all the time. Prostitution is the oldest profession. Want to know why? Because men having money is the oldest profession. And men not having no game is the oldest profession. And men being a lame but got some bread is the oldest profession. So if you need some money, money's a tool. So if you need some money and you got some coochie, but I don't got no game and I want the coochie, I'm going to just offer you this cheese. So a lot of people were bred into being hypersexual because of how society makes the world. Women get a lot of unwarranted and unneeded attention from men. And a lot of them don't know how to handle it. And especially when there's money involved. And so now we've created a narrative where people, it's easy access to sex. I remember back in the day, when online AOL first came out and they started having nude pictures of people, used to be this how nudes used to work. Like, we're gonna say 25 years ago, a little older than that. About 25 years ago, this is how nudes worked. Maybe a little more, but about 25 years ago, this is how nudes worked. You'll be in a chat room. Then somebody say, I got pics of such and such and such and such. Then you'll have to email them and say, can you send me the pics of such and such and such and such? And then they'll respond, email you the pics of such and such. Now, it's a website. You can type it up. Such and such nudes. Such and such giving head. Such and such from the back. Thick squirter. You feel me? But guess what? These are all people. This is a woman sitting at her house collecting, like it's women who sit at their crib on these chat rooms and collect stars and coins and money from dudes, and all they do is with a vibrator. Thanks, baby. They pay you money to turn around from the back, lick your titty. So they get money from this. So that's what a lot of people are doing. It's monetizable. Y'all ever been to Vegas? Y'all ever been down the strip? Have you ever been down the strip at like 3 in the morning? So for a lot of people, they're hypersexual because the easiest way for them to get money is to sell their coochie. Like, do y'all know? Okay, look. Let's bring it back to Vegas. Let's bring it back to the strip. Jobs do not pay as much as strippers make an hour. Not strippers. Y'all know what I'm saying when I say strippers. I didn't mean strippers. You know what I mean when I say that, though. Street walkers. Jobs don't pay what they make an hour. Do they? Jobs do not pay what women who sell it by the hour make. Especially when you go up in rank. However we want to say it, rank. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a baddie that lives in LA with a high profile client list, you might be charging $5K an hour. What job is paying you that? And it reminds me of what I said before. I kind of get a glimpse of how the men felt during the bra burning era of women empowerment and women liberation and all this shit. I get a glimpse of how they felt anytime I get tired of seeing twerking. Because it's twerking. Because how you get tired of twerking? Sometimes you get tired of seeing twerking, right? And then it's like, okay, I kind of see what the men was dealing with, because on one end, it's a benefit to them. Oh, women want to be more liberated? Okay, I don't care if you take your shirt off. I don't give a damn. Go ahead. Oh, strip clubs? Oh, I could just go in and see some naked women? Oh, cool. You know what I'm saying? On that end, that's how a lot of men work. But on the other end, they knew they didn't really respect these people. So a lot of men gonna choose their sexual desires and their sexual fantasies over respect. This is why you'll hear a guy say he won't marry a stripper. You know what I'm saying? But they'll go spend the cheese though. They'll go pay her. They won't respect her. You know what I mean? So for a great majority, they fall in line with that instead of this. We already discussed why this happens and how this happens and the cause and effect of this happening. But now we got to talk about everybody who doesn't fall in line with this, which we just did. So like I said, it's a lot to unpack here. I feel like I really only scratched the surface because I'm a man talking about this. There's a whole nother element in speaking to a woman about this. Because there's more to the truth of this that I could never explain from a man and never have been molested. You know what I'm saying? It's only so much I can say here. But off the rip, to recognize the reality of it, because I know a lot of women who admit to it, even in the comments of this video, a lot of women were admitting to it. Like, it happened to me, and that's why I'm sexual. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's really kind of common sense how when you introduce people to things at an early age, they become comfortable with them. That's the reason why a lot of people grow up in drug families, sell drugs or do drugs, or even homosexuality. Like, y'all know some gay families. It wasn't really in the blood for real. It was in, this is what you've seen and became normal to you. If somebody never seen a gay person before in their life, they wouldn't even think about it. But if you grew up in a house with a husband and then your brother was gay too, you look at it like, oh, they gay. All right, so whatever. But that's what happens when people get touched at an early age. Because, and like I said, this is where I can't even process it, but I just got common sense. A lot of people deal with this different ways, but it doesn't make everybody crazy like you would think it would. Some people normalize, they process it in a sense of making it normal, even though they're not supposed to. It's not their fault. We ain't blaming them that way, but they've made it normal because it became normal to them. It's just like a kid who's allowed to smoke weed at 10 or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to be doing that, and it's not normal. But if your parents pass you the blunt and you're always seeing them smoke, this is normal to you now. So this is sad, but it's sad it starts at the top. It's sad that people still are the same people that protect these people. Like, even the people in some of these comment sections that agree with this and say it happened to me, they didn't tell for whatever reason, which we already discussed earlier, but they didn't tell. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of them things where this could be a 10-part series. This could be a panel of people that this happened to. I'm just speaking from the outside looking in and things that I know and people that I've talked to. There's another whole element to this that's personal as hell that I can't touch. But I know it's true. Not the whole generation. You know what I mean? That's why I said what I said about it not being true. But I know this is true. I know this is true. But I just wish we still, because we're look. Y'all listen to the last generation defend. They still do it. Free Kales. Michael was innocent. They literally still do it. I talk about it all the time. I'm the only person who's ever mentioned it from this whole city. The former pastor of Mount Zion Church, allegedly, was a molester. Y'all can get mad if y'all related to these people. I don't care. This is something that happened in the era before me. I wasn't even born. But people know about it because I've heard about it from an extremely reliable source. I ain't going to say who it is, but someone told me that, who I believe. And she wouldn't have said it if it was no truth to it. You ain't just going to accuse the pastor of doing that if the pastor never did that. Right or wrong. And this is how people are able to continue this. Because we live in an era of covering it up. Because we have to. It's a lot of people who can't afford the morals. They can't afford the truth. They can't afford reality. And like I said before, that's why I started off with the breadwinner father. Because a lot of women couldn't afford to leave this guy. And he was doing all of this stuff. And they had literally no other option but to stay. On top of the fact, that makes bad parenting. Because a lot of people they'll justify it off their own fear. Let's switch it a little bit from this to like abuse. You got the guy not getting a whooping or none of that shit. I'm talking actually abuse of your kids and your wife. So like she'll be scared. She don't want to get whooped and beaten, all that shit, right? So when he does it to the kid, when the kid, when he's gone, goes to work, sleep, whatever, kid crying, the mom will be like, well, she'll justify the bullshit out of fear. Oh, well, you know, he loves you. He just does that when he's drunk, and he's not really like that when he's sober. And as a kid, you hate him. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'll kill him. I don't care if he's drunk or not. I hate his ass. You know what I'm saying? So it starts with the people doing it. Bottom line. There's a lot of people, and I talked about this before, and I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about this because it's something that people need to know. There's a lot of people who are now in like their 70s, about 70s, people in about their 70s, maybe even 80s, who are too old for the internet, that we're dealing with what they created. These 30-year-olds, these 25-year-olds, these 40-year-olds, a lot of their parents are 70 and they were piece of shit parents, but now we're dealing with the results of that, but they're too old to be on the internet. They don't got a Twitter. They don't got a TikTok. They don't got an IG. But they ruin their kids. Which is why I seen a video about R. Kelly while he was playing the piano and started talking about his relationship with his mother. And it got creepy. I wonder why. So there's a bunch of truth to this. I'm going to come back when I can talk to somebody that can relate to this on a different level. And I know it's a bunch of people who can. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? It's sad that that's a reality, but it's a bunch of people who can relate to this. You know, it's really fucked up. And all right, this is probably the last thing I'm going to say. I see people continuing the cycle with how they talk about certain things about little girls. Anytime somebody calls out little girls doing adult behavior shit, a lot of y'all like to be like, well, they're just dancing. Why are you sexualizing them? No, 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 no. Because if you keep with that method, it's going to continue the cycle. You should not be comfortable watching 9-year-old little girls twerk in leggings. That is not me sexualizing them. Because somebody coming along doing this is going to be the one sexualizing them. When's the last time you heard a P word or somebody molester call some things out? No, they hide from the reality of those things. They don't want to be associated with that. Why would a P word get online and say, why is them little girls twerking? No, that's a parent. That's a P word, all right. A parent. So anytime people see a problem with the shit and they call it out, they get called a name. You sound like you would touch the kids. It reminded me of when the Ari Spears and Tiffany Haddish thing came out. My opinion was very clear. We should be more mad at the people they were depicting. When I said that, somebody told me it sounds like I would touch a kid. How? How? That was a skit about somebody's uncle babysitting them and molesting them. It was as nasty as we thought it was. If it's seen, kids shouldn't have been in the bathtub naked for a skit. Absolutely. But it was still a skit of something that actually happens. That's somebody's actual uncle. That's somebody's actual dad. That's somebody's actual stepfather. That's somebody's actual husband. That's somebody's actual pastor of a church that Ari Spears was depicting. It's some men that he wasn't acting when they did it. And I was calling that out. So if y'all seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. If you're only mad at Ari Spears and Tiffany Haddish, then you're not mad at the people who actually do that shit. And when I said that, somebody told me I sound like I would touch a kid. Imagine that. So now, okay, so how about I just don't say shit? Then what's going to happen? If people who care enough to call it out don't say a damn thing, what's going to end up happening? The skit becomes a reality. That's this right here. This post right here shows that Ari Spears skit was never a skit. That shit happens all of the time. But do people call it out or do they make excuses for it? It's uncomfortable to call it out. Not to me. I don't care. But for other people, it is. And I can only use the most popular example that we have, Michael effing Jackson. Look how our culture carried on with a clear creep. It's not even like, how do y'all rate people? Like, you don't know that there's something wrong with that man? Oh, his childhood. Oh, he didn't have a childhood. He had an adulthood, a hell of a one, that a lot of people would trade theirs for his and their childhood. So I don't want to hear the excuses. It's always an excuse. It's always an excuse to cover up for the people doing this shit. Always an excuse. We don't call this shit out as a culture. And when I say culture, I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about human being culture, life culture. People justify and normalize this shit. Everybody talked about that Nicki Minaj diss, but nobody talked about one of the lines Megan said. She said, I can never take nobody serious who was dancing, making R. Kelly go viral. Oops, y'all did that do it to your leg shaking challenge, didn't you, asses? That's what she was talking about, if you didn't know. So we live in an era of a whole era. When I say era, I mean 30 years. We live in an era, 40 years, 50 years. We live in an era of people who, if you're talented or rich, they'll turn their back to who you are. And like I said before, now I got another example. Larry Nassar. He was the gym instructor. He was a doctor. he was from a position of power. Normally, the people who do this are in a position of untouchable, to where people respect them, people love them, and people wouldn't think that they would do this. Most people, when you hear that they do this, there's something about them that you would give them to say, no, he wouldn't do that. But he did do that. She did do that. That's not act like just because for boys, it's totally different. Like I said, it's a lot to unpack here. For men, this has become normalized. I did a video about it before. The 15-year-old boy in Florida with the 36-year-old teacher, they said he must be gay for calling it out. She tried to have sex with him, and people was literally in the comments saying he must be gay because he was 15 and a 36-year-old tried to have sex with him. And for him not doing it, he got to be gay. So for boys, this is a whole nother hour show. Because this is it for men, maybe even more than women, in the sense of gayness. Okay? Gayness. Because a lot of people were, speaking of gayness, hold on. Let me reverse it real quick. Before I make that point. There's a lot of women who date women because of something that a man did to them. So even hypersexual in that fashion, because there's a lot of freaky ass studs and lesbians and all that. So even this might not be something that the opposite sex could even enjoy with you because of what happened with the opposite sex. Y'all know what I'm trying to say when I say that. So it's a lot of women who are lesbians or homosexual or bisexual, however you want to use it, because some guy did this. And same with dudes. But with men, it's a lot of the reverse, meaning some dudes are gay because they were opened up to homosexual, you know what I'm trying to say, through a man. It's rare. Like I said, I can't even say it's rare because I don't know. But I'm just assuming, I'm just saying that I think it's rare for a man to go the other way, meaning he was touched by a woman, so now he's gay. It's usually not like that with dudes. You feel me? Usually with dudes, it'd be a dude touched him, so now he's gay. Because that opened it up it became normal. Like we've been saying this whole time. The normalcy of sex with a man became normal to him. So now he's comfortable with it, basically, if that's the right word to use. Comfortable with it because of how it was introduced. It's the same. It's not the same, but for this context, it's the same as smoking weed at 10 or 11 or 12 or drinking early or whatever with your parents. Being around guns, being around cussing. It's the same concept. When you become around it and are used to it, you see those kids, like even those little cussing videos. A lot of them kids, they get the cussing from their parents. This is why most of them kids were so fluent with the cussing. Because of how many times they done heard clean your motherfucking room. Shut the fuck up. Like, they hear it so much. It's part of their vocabulary. They just don't get to say it. And anybody that's an adult as a kid, you know how many times you done hated your parent or cussed their ass out behind their back. Imagine if you could get that. Get them bars off and your parent let you do that challenge. You know how many of us would have did that challenge? At 15, 16, hate your mom, hate your dad, and they tell you you can get these bars off real quick. Bitch, if you don't, what you mean? Of course they would. But that just goes to show it's a cycle of bad parenting. But my point is that a lot of people don't express this. We just get into a space where talking about stuff online and trauma only because, well, not only because, partially because being a victim is a good thing now. It's monetizable to be a victim. Being a victim used to be bad, but now it's something that can get you attention. But so we've just got to a space where people are comfortable sharing these type of stories. And so maybe the more we get to a space where people are comfortable sharing these stories, people will be comfortable snitching. Because at the same time, when we talk about not snitching, and I ain't no snitch, what about when this is happening? This a crime, would you tell? Oh, it's different, huh? Now it's different. It ain't no different. It starts how I started it. We have created a whole culture of people who turn their back to this shit. It's that no snitching shit too. You a snitch if you tell on a pedophile. Don't that sound dumb now? Ain't it dumb now? It was dumb before. It's been stupid. Don't try to act, when I add a variable, act like I'm saying something wrong. Nope. If you snitch on a pedophile, you a snitch. That, to me, that shit sound as dumb as if you shoot me and I don't die and I say you shot me, I'm a snitch. Well, what are you? I'd rather be a snitch than whatever you are. You just shot me and tried to kill me. So if I died, I'd be a real nigga, long-lived dub. But if I survive and say this nigga shot me, I'm a snitch. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck. You shouldn't have tried to kill me, bitch. But my point is, we created a culture where not holding people accountable has become a thing. We even have fancy words for it. No snitching. Well, there's some accountability in snitching too. It's a difference between you get caught for something and they say, if you give me some, tell me where some guns is at or some drugs, I'll let you go. Oh, yeah, him over there. Yeah, that nigga over there be selling stuff. He right there. That's snitching. Or if they catch me and you was with me and I say, hell no, I wasn't alone. I was with such and such. That's snitching. But if you try to kill me and I say you tried to kill me, bitch, I'm not snitching. You should have killed me. If that's the case, that's your fault. You messed up. Now your ass going to jail forever. I only respect the people. All right, look. If somebody, same scenario, and it's related to this, you just don't know how. If somebody tries to shoot you and then they survive, the only people I'm respecting and not snitching is if you want them out on the street because you going to do something. If you ain't going to do shit, man, your ass better tell. It's a lot of people who would murk their parent, low key. If they could, or if they had the opportunity, they'd take their parent out. It's people who've done it. Eric and Lyle and them, even though they said they was lying or whatever, I don't know if they was lying, trying to get money, but their explanation was that they was getting molested. That happened when we was kids. So, in a lot of cases, this don't get called out. And that's the reason why a whole generation is able. That's the reason why I spent the least amount of time calling cap on this. Because we got a whole generation of people who turned their back to this shit. I know that for a fact. So if we got a whole generation of people who turned their back on this, how can we not say that this is true for a whole generation? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's hard to just hold people accountable for their own actions instead of just deal with this on full surface. It's hard. Especially anybody that knows the reality of this. We broke it all the way down at this point. So I'm going to come back and talk about this some more. For sure. With somebody else. People need to talk about this. Like even, okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I did the video about the big back behavior shit, right? And in my video, I was like, yo, where is the bigger women to say that this happens at? Where y'all at? Why y'all acting like people just dissing big women when this happens? Where y'all at? And a bigger woman, we did a video about it. I reacted to it. But a bigger woman reacted to my video and explained how this stuff happens. Now, here's why I'm bringing that up. I went down her videos. She makes videos all the time. I've never heard her talking about that. I didn't go through all her videos, but I just started clicking random stuff just to see the type of stuff she talks about. That video was therapeutic for her. She had never spoke about that topic. As a bigger woman, she never spoke about the insecurities of being bigger in the dating market. My video pulled it out of her. You know what I'm saying? So There's a lot of people who need this talk. They've been harboring this. Listen, look, it's some people, okay, who haven't even admitted to this yet. So it happened to them, that this happened to them, right? And then they suppressed it and try to act like they're okay. But really they got a sexual problem low key, and they just chalked it up to whatever, but it's actually this. So there's another element of this too, to the people who haven't came to this realization yet. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, I really hope people are setting their kids up for this same thing to happen to them, the way y'all normalize kids doing adult shit. And it look, and this was my issue with the whole little girl doing the waxing thing. Where do we separate an adult job at for your explanation to be, well, it's a profession. She is learning how to make money. Well, and I hate to even make this connection, but we have to. Strippers make money. So you have to be careful when you're saying things that could imply, and I know obviously they weren't saying this, but I'm saying I shouldn't be able to even put this cut on there to say, are you saying that a 5-year-old could be a stripper? Of course they weren't saying that. But when you say it's a trade and I say it's an adult job, well, stripping is an adult job. So you should be the person to determine between a kid doing some shit that adults do. But if we can't do that, then we're setting our kids up to be way more adult than they already are. And then the cause and effect of that leads to, unfortunately. So we could talk for a whole nother hour about the pedophiles. That's easy work. We could get comfortable and roast some pedophiles. That's nothing. But we also have to address making things easy for them. And that's why I talked about all the parents who justify shit by trying to call out other people. Well, you got to look. If it's a pedophile online, just think about how easy of access to being, I hate to even say this shit, but it's a reality. How easy of access to being pleasured, or however you want to use the word. It's nasty, but whatever. Online. If you're a P word that is attracted to kids, you can find them. And you have a bunch of people saying, well, they're just dancing. No, they're not just dancing. They're twerking at 9. So when you're 27 and twerking, it's twerking. But when you're 9 and twerking, it's why are you sexualizing a kid? You should hope that a parent, if that's the route y'all want to go, you should hope that a parent that cares about your kid's protection sexualizes a kid before one of these people do. Since we got to go the why are you sexualizing kids route, because our sexualizing, when we talk about twerking, our sexualizing of kids is not going to lead to them getting touched in any way. But the other people's sexualization of kids will. So you would want somebody saying, why is these kids twerking online? Why is this little girl wearing that short skirt? Why is this little girl wearing that? Instead of somebody who's never going to say nothing. You can't find me no examples of some chameleon P words. We talk about all this undercover brother shit, gay but talk to women, all this shit. You ain't never seen no pedophile speaking out against pedophiles. They don't do it. They hide. This is one of the most unrespected things you can be. People don't admit to being this. People do not admit to being this. You find more people admit to being a bad parent than admit to being this. Nobody, I can't say nobody ever, but I'm just going to say I've never heard anybody. Well, yes, I have. 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 But not trying to normalize it. I've heard somebody admit to being this in court. I ain't never seen nobody get on a video on YouTube, on IG, on one of these apps, on TikTok, and say, "Hi, I'm attracted to little kids." No, you ain't, because you're going to get your ass canceled, hurt. It's dangerous for you, all that. You can never walk around the rest of nowhere. You can't go nowhere. You get on the video and say you're attracted to kids. Where you going to go? The mall? We're busting your head there. Church? Head busted at church. They're going to lay hands on you at church. Ain't going to be no prayer either. So nobody admits to this. So stop trying to get mad at people who are calling out bad parenting. Because if we set back and don't say shit, then it's gonna be them little girls in that video on top of a table and it's there talking about, "Bitch, we outside tonight." Do they even know what outside means? You know who's outside, right? But to them, it's just twerking, dancing on the table. I guarantee you they seen their mama and their auntie do that. All they was doing was repeating after their mama and auntie. That's it. But some people's mama and auntie was the ones. So this topic will never get old. It will never die down. It will never be not information to address. We could find videos and play them and react to it with the same topic. We could find videos of Eddie Long in them and just roast. All right, we could do it anyway. We could go play the Gayle King interview. I didn't do this stuff. We can make it into a joke. Honestly. Not a joke about the topic, or a joke about the people. We could roast them. That's what I mean by making it into a joke. We can make them into a joke. We can go any way with this. We could keep it serious. We could call people all up out their names. So when I come back with this topic, I'm going to have somebody with me. I want to hear a woman's perspective on this. I can't do this by myself. I can't do this. I can't do this stuff. And want to know why? Because I've never been molested. And I'm not a woman. So as a woman who's been, first of all, a woman can speak on this a different way than I can. And a woman who's been molested, it's a whole nother level. And then a man as well. So I'm going to come back with this one. This is only chapter 1, maybe 2, because I talked a lot. No. We talked about a few chapters. We uncovered a few chapters because we uncovered the chapters of people who do this. We uncovered the chapter of the people who don't do this. And the longest chapter was this. So we got 3 chapters, but it's some more. This is a whole book. So I'm going to be back with this one, y'all. This is an interesting topic. And like I said, I'm going to chop some of this stuff up and put it on social media. I guarantee you when I do, somebody's going to want to talk about it. Because this is something that needs to be discussed that doesn't. We talk all this shit about other shit. We don't talk about this type of shit. And it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I could have been an asshole about this and just said, "Man, how you going to make an excuse for a whole generation? Man, these did it." That's easy. That would have been so easy. But that would have been fake as hell too. To not address the reality in this. So I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back with this, y'all. Y'all be good. Have a great day.